What happens when Harrison Ford sits down at the View and Joy Behar decides to push him harder than expected? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The episode begins with the studio audience already buzzing louder than usual, the kind of energy that happens when a major Hollywood icon steps onto the stage. The camera swings across the table as the co-hosts settle in, and Whoopi leans forward with that signature half-smirk, ready to kick things off. Harrison Ford takes his seat, calm but sharp-eyed, the way he always looks in interviews, like he's already reading the room and deciding how much blunt honesty he's in the mood for today. Whoopi starts with a warm introduction, praising Harrison's decades-long career, and the audience cheers the moment his name is mentioned. He nods politely, gives a small wave, and jokes about not being used to this much noise before coffee, which gets the first laugh of the morning. The vibe is easy, until Joy jumps in with a tone that's already leaning towards something heavier than Harrison expected. "So, Harrison," she says, elbows on the table, leaning forward like she's about to interrogate him. "You've always played these strong, tough guys. Today, though, I'm curious. Do you think Hollywood gives too much attention to nostalgia, especially with franchises you're constantly asked to return to?" The room shifts. It's subtle, but even the audience feels the edge in the question. Harrison glances sideways, takes a slow breath, and taps his fingers lightly on the table. "Well," he says, "I don't think nostalgia is the problem. I think people like stories they care about. There's nothing wrong with going back if there's something meaningful to say." Joy cuts in before he finishes. "But there are some people who think the industry keeps resurrecting old characters because Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. Isn't that part of the problem? Isn't it just recycling?" A low ooh ripples through the crowd. Saya shifts in her seat. Sunny raises her eyebrows. Whoopi leans back and mutters, "Here we go," just loud enough for the microphones to catch it, which makes the audience laugh nervously. Harrison keeps his composure. He doesn't smile. He doesn't flinch. He just turns to Joy with a look that is calm but undeniably firm. "I'm not sure that's a fair way to put it," he replies. "You can call it recycling, or you can call it continuing a story. But you need to understand something. Audiences choose what they want. If they didn't want it, it wouldn't happen." Joy shrugs. Or maybe Hollywood doesn't give them new choices. This time, Harrison pauses. He studies her face, almost as if he's trying to decide whether she's serious or just trying to stir the pot. The tension tightens, and even Anna glances toward a producer off-camera as if to say, "Is this going where it feels like it's going?" Harrison finally answers, but his tone shifts, still calm, but sharper, like he's setting a boundary. "Look, Joy," he says slowly, "you're free to think whatever you want about Hollywood. But don't tell me I'm part of some creative decline when I know how hard people work. It's disrespectful to the writers, directors, and crews who put everything into these projects." The audience bursts into applause. It's immediate, loud, and supportive. Harrison nods slightly at them, but his eyes are still locked on Joy. Joy isn't backing down. She lifts her shoulders. "I'm just saying what a lot of people say online." "Then maybe online isn't the best place to look for the truth," Harrison responds, without missing a beat. The crowd reacts again, this time with a mix of laughter and surprise. Sunny covers her mouth. Sarah mutters, "Oh wow," under her breath. Joy raises her eyebrows, clearly not expecting him to fire back that directly. Whoopi senses the heat rising and jumps in, trying to steer things into calmer territory. Okay, let's not start World War III at the table," she jokes. "We just sat down." But Joy continues anyway, turning slightly toward the audience, almost appealing to them. "I just think we should be honest about the state of the industry." Harrison leans in. "Honest is fine. But let's be accurate." Another wave of reaction rolls through the audience. Sunny finally speaks up, trying to ease some tension. "Harrison, you've been very open in past interviews about choosing projects based on what resonates with you personally. Is that still true?" Harrison shifts his attention. "Yeah, absolutely. I don't pick a movie because it's old or new. I pick it because it has heart, or humor, or something human. Something worth telling." This moment softens the mood slightly, and the audience murmurs in agreement. But Joy isn't done. She comes right back, her voice a little louder this time. "But don't you think continuing certain franchises sends a message to younger actors that they'll never get the chance to take over? That the older generation doesn't want to let go?" Sunny glances at Joy, surprised at how direct she's being. Sarah whispers, "She's pushing him," and Anna nods. Harrison's jaw tightens, and he responds with a tone that makes the entire room sit up straighter. I let go when I want to let go, he says. I don't answer to the internet or critics, or even this table about when my time is up. I'll stop when I decide the work doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Until then, I'm not apologizing for still being passionate. The audience erupts, some cheering, some gasping. A few stand. The cameras pan across faces full of shock, excitement, and disbelief. Joy tries to jump in, but Whoopi finally raises her hand, signaling enough. Joy, hold on. Let the man finish. Harrison continues. You want younger actors to have chances. Good. So do I. And they will. But don't act like older actors taking roles prevents that. Hollywood has room for everyone. This idea that someone has to step aside for someone else to succeed. No. That's a false choice. Joy folds her arms. The table is quiet. The audience is absolutely locked in. Sarah, with her voice softer than usual, says, This is getting interesting. Whoopi laughs again, though it's half nervous this time. Interesting is one word for it. Harrison takes another deep breath, clearly aware that the conversation is heating up in a way he didn't expect. You invited me here to talk honestly, he says. So I'm talking honestly. The audience applauds again. Joy purses her lips, as if deciding whether to escalate or retreat. The energy at the table is now a mix of tension, admiration, and uncertainty, exactly the kind of moment that goes viral in minutes. And then Joy leans forward again, ready to push the conversation into an even sharper direction, just as the producers signal that they need to go to their first commercial break. The cameras come back from commercial, and the atmosphere at the table feels different, not explosive yet, but charged, like everyone is quietly bracing for what Joy is about to say next. The audience is whispering among themselves, clearly still buzzing from the unexpected tension right before the break. Harrison sits with his hands folded, waiting. Joy has that familiar "I'm not done" expression. And Whoopi sighs dramatically, which gets a laugh from a few audience members. Joy wastes absolutely no time. So, she says, leaning back in her chair casually. Before the break, Harrison was explaining why he feels he shouldn't have to step aside for younger actors. And look, I respect your career enormously, but I do think the public has a right to critique the industry. Harrison lets out a small breath through his nose, almost a laugh but not quite. The public can critique anything they want. That's not the issue. Joy interrupts immediately. Well, it sounded like you were saying criticism doesn't matter. That's not what I said, he replies calmly. I said online criticism isn't the whole truth. There's a difference. Anna slides in gently. Joy, I think he's just saying he doesn't feel obligated to retire because of comments online. Joy waves her hand dismissively. If we only listened to our fans when they praised us, none of us would grow. Whoopi raises an eyebrow. Joy, you don't even listen when we praise you. The audience laughs loudly, breaking the tension for a moment. Joy smirks, but she's still locked in. Harrison rubs the bridge of his nose, choosing his next words carefully. Look, I've had critics my entire career. That's normal. But this idea that older actors are somehow blocking the door for younger actors, it's not accurate. If anything, we're the ones who fought through decades of this business to make space. The audience claps again, but Joy shakes her head. I just think it's becoming harder for fresh talent to break through. Sunny jumps in, sounding genuinely curious. But Joy, is that really about older actors? Or is it about Hollywood taking fewer risks overall? Joy shrugs. Maybe both. Harrison raises a hand slightly. Can I say something without being interrupted for 30 seconds? Whoopi slaps her hand on the table dramatically. Give him the floor, Joy. His Indiana Jones. Let him talk. The audience laughs again. Joy lifts her palms. Go ahead. Harrison nods. Thank you. Here's what I'm trying to explain. When people say Hollywood has no originality, they're usually talking about the big studio movies, the blockbusters. But there are hundreds of smaller films, independent films, streaming projects, new stories everywhere. The industry isn't just one machine. It's thousands of people making thousands of different things. Sawa nods enthusiastically. Exactly. And a lot of audiences don't even know those smaller films exist because marketing pushes the bigger titles. Harrison points toward her. Right. So blaming older actors for taking roles in major franchises, it ignores the bigger picture. Joy tilts her head. So you don't think legacy actors should eventually step back? Harrison's eyes narrow, but his voice stays composed. I think everyone should step back when they feel it's time. But that's a personal decision, not something dictated by think pieces. A few audience members clap. Joy hesitates for a moment, then crosses her legs dramatically and leans in again. But don't you think the industry uses you, your name, your image, to hold on to box office instead of taking risks on new stars? Harrison responds instantly. I think the industry uses everything it can to survive. That's not unique to me. Whoopi laughs. That's the realest thing anyone has said on this table in months. Sunny looks between them. Joy, are you asking him about responsibility? Like whether he feels responsible for the state of Hollywood? Joy nods. Yes, thank you. Harrison leans back, thinking for a moment. I have responsibility for the work I choose. I don't have responsibility for the entire industry. Nobody does. Joy starts to speak again, but Harrison finishes first. And honestly, Joy, if you think older actors like me are the issue, you're looking in the wrong direction. A collective gasp spreads through the audience. Sarah's eyes widen. Anna bites her lip, like she's trying not to comment. Joy sits up straighter, clearly caught off guard but not backing down. Oh, she says sharply. And what direction should I be looking in? Harrison looks her directly in the eyes. At the studios. At the executives. At the funding. Don't come after the people who are just trying to tell stories. The room erupts. The applause is loud and sustained, like the audience has been waiting for someone to say this on daytime TV for years. Joy forces a thin smile. All right, she says. So you're saying actors have no role in shaping the industry? I didn't say that either, Harrison replies. Actors influence the culture, sure, but we don't decide which movies get made. Anna nods. That's true. Even famous actors don't greenlight films. Joy turns to Sunny. So we're just supposed to pretend the industry isn't overrun with remakes. Harrison sighs again. Joy, you're oversimplifying a very complicated business. This time, the audience reacts with a mix of applause and murmurs. Joy notices, glances at them, and raises her eyebrows slightly, as if she didn't expect the room to be leaning toward Harrison's side. Whoopi steps in again. Okay, this is one of those days where I'm just gonna sit here and let y'all work it out. Sarah laughs nervously. I mean, it's getting spicy. Harrison takes a sip of water, clearly preparing for round 3. Joy, I respect your opinion. Truly. But I won't sit here and be told my continued work somehow hurts the next generation. That's not reality. Joy finally drops her voice. So you think I'm misinformed? Harrison, looking straight at her, answers plainly. I think you're generalizing based on headlines, not experience. The audience gasps loudly, one of the biggest reactions yet. Some people clap, some murmur, some look shocked. Joy opens her mouth, closes it again, then finally responds. Well, she says, that's your interpretation. I'm just asking questions. Sunny leans forward. But Joy, the way you're asking them feels like you're directing blame toward him personally. Joy looks at Sunny, surprised by the unexpected pushback. I'm not attacking him. Harrison speaks calmly. I didn't say you were attacking. I said you were blaming. That line hits the table hard. The audience reacts again, buzzing with energy. Joy sits back and finally says, Okay. Then here's a question without any framing. Why do you think your return to old roles matters so much to fans? This makes Harrison pause. His face softens. His voice lowers. Because, he says, people don't connect with franchises. They connect with characters. They connect with the journey. And if I step back too early, that journey ends unfinished. A long silence. It's respectful this time. The audience absorbs it. Even Joy doesn't interrupt. Harrison continues. I'm not doing these roles to be nostalgic. I'm doing them to finish the work in a way that feels honest. Joy studies him. Her expression shifts slightly, not agreement, but understanding. The tension relaxes only a little. And then Anna, almost too innocently, says, But Joy's going to ask the next question anyway. The audience bursts into laughter. Joy smirks, and Harrison shakes his head with a tiny smile. But there's still something unresolved, something hanging between Joy and Harrison, waiting to ignite again. And the producers seem to sense it, because instead of moving to a new topic, Whoopi leans forward, preparing to let the debate continue. Exactly where things begin to escalate even further. The tension at the table feels like it's hanging by a thin thread, and the audience can sense it. Whoopi takes a slow breath and taps her fingers lightly on the desk, a familiar signal that she's about to let the conversation continue but under her watch. She looks at Joy first, then at Harrison, almost like a referee deciding whether to let the players keep going or call a timeout. When she finally speaks, her tone is steady. "All right," she says. "It seems like we're not done with this topic. So let's talk about it, but let's keep it respectful. Nobody's trying to shut down younger people. Nobody's trying to erase older actors. It's a bigger conversation." Joy nods, though her posture remains defensive. Harrison sits straighter, waiting. Sunny glances at Anna, sensing more turbulence ahead, while Saya shifts her cards nervously even though she's not using them. Joy starts again, her tone softer at first but still pointed. "Harrison, if we're being honest, I think some people feel the industry keeps pulling from the past because it's afraid to move forward. And you're a symbol of the past in many ways, someone people grew up watching." Harrison nods slowly, not offended but attentive. "I understand that. Truly. But the past doesn't have to be a burden. It can be a foundation." Joy raises an eyebrow. "So you don't think people rely too much on that foundation?" "Not if the stories evolve," he replies. "A character can return and still move forward." Sarah leans in. "But do you feel pressure to live up to those expectations? Because fans are intense about iconic roles." Harrison chuckles, the first real moment of levity in a while. "Oh, I feel the pressure. I just don't let it dictate what I do." The audience laughs lightly, but Joy isn't smiling. She shifts in her chair, then continues with a question that feels intentionally sharper. "But Harrison, do you ever worry that by continuing certain roles, you prevent those characters from being reimagined by someone new? Someone younger?" This time, Harrison reacts faster. The firmness in his expression returns instantly, and his voice lowers in a way that commands the room. "No," he says plainly, "because the character isn't just a costume. It's a journey, and the journey is mine until I say it's done." The audience breaks into applause. Joy waits for the clapping to die down, but she doesn't back off. "Well, some would argue the journey belongs to the audience once the character becomes iconic." Harrison looks straight at her. The audience shares it. They don't own it. This gets another reaction. Gasps, applause, murmurs. Sunny fans herself dramatically, and Whoopi mutters, "Oh boy," under her breath. Joy sits up, fire in her eyes. "That's an interesting way to put it. But don't you think audiences deserve a say? They are the ones supporting the industry." "Of course they deserve a say," Harrison replies. "But that doesn't mean they should dictate decisions about art. We can listen without surrendering the creative process." Joy folds her arms. "But the industry isn't always about art. It's business. And that's exactly why you shouldn't blame actors for decisions made by studios," Harrison fires back. "We don't control the business." Anna raises her hand slightly. "Can I add something?" She looks between them. They both nod reluctantly. Anna continues, "I think Joy's talking about accountability, not blame." Joy jumps in. "Exactly." Harrison shakes his head. "But accountability requires power. Actors don't have the power people think they do." Sunny turns toward him. "Even you." "Even me," he says. "I can say yes or no. That's it. I can't greenlight projects. I can't decide which scripts get funded. I can't decide which franchise gets rebooted for the 10th time." Joy nods slowly, but she's still not convinced. "But your name has influence." "Influence isn't control," Harrison replies. Whoopi tilts her head. "He's not wrong. I've been in this business a long time too. Influence gives you a seat at the table. It doesn't mean you're making the deals." The audience applauds again. Joy glances around, sensing she's losing the room. She takes a breath, then regroups. "Okay, fine," she says. "Then let me ask you something more personal. Do you ever worry about overstaying your welcome?" Harrison pauses. Really pauses. The table waits. The audience holds its breath. And when he finally speaks, the entire tone of the room shifts. "Every day," he admits quietly. The reaction is immediate and emotional. The audience softens, a few people and Sarah's jaw actually drops. Joy looks stunned at the honesty. Harrison continues. "I think about legacy. I think about timing. I think about whether the work still matters. But I don't let fear make choices for me." Sunny gives him a warm smile. "That's actually beautiful." Joy clears her throat, almost embarrassed that her question uncovered a vulnerable moment. "Well, I appreciate you saying that. But Harrison's not done." "Joy, I'm not offended by your questions. But sometimes the way they are framed makes it sound like older actors should be pushed aside, not just questioned. Joy raises her hands defensively. That's not what I'm saying. But that's how it lands, Harrison responds gently but firmly. The audience murmurs, recognition that he's hitting a sensitive, real point. Joy looks down for a second, then back up. Okay, she says quietly. Then let me rephrase. But before she can, Whoopi steps in. Hold on. Before we rephrase anything, I want to acknowledge something. She turns to Harrison. You didn't have to open up like that. So thank you. The audience applauds again, softer this time, more respectful. Joy waits until it quiets down. All right, she says. Let me ask it differently. Do you think there's a point where an actor should step back, not because of pressure, but because the story has nowhere else to go? Harrison nods. Yes. And when that time comes for me, I'll know it. I won't need social media to tell me. The room becomes still. Joy blinks a few times, thinking that over. Sarah breaks the silence. Can I ask something, Harrison? When you return to a character, like Indiana Jones or Han Solo, is it for the fans? Or for yourself? Harrison smiles slightly. Both. You want to give audiences closure, or something meaningful. But you also want to leave the character somewhere that feels right. Joy leans forward again, calm now, but still challenging. But what if the audience wants something different from what you want? Harrison shrugs lightly. They always do. But that's the balance of storytelling. You listen, but you don't give up the soul of the character. Sunny nods. That makes sense. You don't want to betray what made the character special in the first place. Joy opens her mouth again, but this time she hesitates. She's trying to find a way to challenge him without igniting another explosion. All right, then let me ask you this. Do you think the audience is too nostalgic? This sends a ripple of laughter through the room. Even Harrison cracks a smile. Absolutely, he says. But that's not a bad thing. Joy scoffs lightly. Debatable. Harrison shrugs. People want stories that mean something to them. Nostalgia isn't weakness. It's connection. Anna raises her eyebrows. That's actually a great point. But Joy still isn't satisfied. She takes a breath, then says, Okay, but if audiences keep wanting the past, doesn't that mean the present isn't offering enough? Harrison pauses again, longer this time. The table waits. He looks at Joy, then at the audience, then back at Joy. That, he says slowly, sounds like a question for Hollywood. Not for me. The audience erupts, cheers, applause, shocked reactions. Joy sits back again, realizing she walked right into that one. Even Whoopi laughs, shaking her head. And just as Joy looks like she's about to fire off another response, the producers signal another break. Whoopi looks up, sighs dramatically, and says, We'll be right back. Lord help us. The audience laughs, but the moment feels like the calm before what might be the storm. Because Joy hasn't let go, and Harrison hasn't backed down, and everyone can feel something bigger is coming after the break. The cameras return from commercial, and right away, the energy in the studio feels like it's been simmering. The audience is leaning forward, ready for whatever happens next. Joy adjusts her cue cards sharply. Harrison exhales slowly, and Whoopi looks directly into the camera with a dry expression that already gets a few laughs. We're back, she says, and we are still on the same topic because our producers clearly want us to fight today. The audience laughs, easing the tension for a moment. But it doesn't last long. Joy jumps in quickly, almost before Whoopi finishes. Look, I'm not trying to attack Harrison. I'm trying to have a real conversation about the industry and where it's going. Harrison responds before anyone else can. And I appreciate that. But the way the questions are framed matters. Intent isn't always the impact. Joy presses her lips together, considering that. Fair enough, she says. Then let me try something different. She takes a breath. The audience quiets. Everyone at the table turns to her. Why do you think studios keep going back to the same actors and the same franchises? What do you think they're afraid of? Harrison sits back, thinking. It takes him several seconds before he answers, and the silence is heavy but respectful. They're afraid of losing money, he finally says. That's the truth. Movies are expensive. If a studio spends $200 million on a film, they are going to pick the safest option. And like it or not, sometimes that means going back to what already worked. Joy listens carefully. So you're saying it's a business decision? Yes, Harrison replies. A business wrapped in art. That's the tension. Sunny nods slowly, and the audience is stuck in the middle. Exactly, Harrison says. They want new stories, but studios want guarantees. And no one wants to take the risk first. Joy taps her fingers on the table, absorbing this. So is that why you come back to certain roles? Because the studio asks. Harrison shakes his head. No, I come back because there's something left to do with the character. If there wasn't, I wouldn't return. Sarah leans forward, curious. Do you ever turn down old roles that studios want you to revisit? Oh, yes, Harrison says instantly. Plenty. Joy raises her eyebrows. More than you accept. He smiles faintly. I'd say it's 50-50. The audience reacts with surprised murmurs. Sarah nods. I didn't know that. Most people don't, Harrison replies. But again, the public is only shown what gets made. They don't see what gets turned down, shelved, rewritten, fought over, rejected. Anna adds, that's true for every actor. People assume we say yes to everything. Joy inhales deeply. All right. Then here's something I want to ask honestly. She looks directly at him. Do you ever feel like you're carrying the weight of other people's expectations? Not fans, not critics, but the studios, the franchises, the history. The question lands differently. Harrison shifts slightly in his seat, like she finally hit something real. Yes, he says quietly. All the time. The audience is still. Joy waits. Harrison continues. There's pressure to honor what came before, to respect the story, but also to not be trapped by it. It's a tightrope. Sunny nods sympathetically. That's a lot. It is, Harrison says. But I knew what I was signing up for when I became an actor. And I'm grateful for the career I've had. Joy softens visibly. I believe that. But Harrison's tone changes, firmer again, but not hostile. What I don't appreciate is when people assume older actors are in the way. I've spent decades trying to make the industry better for the next generation. That matters. The audience applauds strongly. The applause keeps going long enough that the producers have to signal for it to settle. Joy lets it happen, then folds her hands thoughtfully. I didn't mean to minimize that, she says. I know, Harrison replies, and it sounds honest. The table exhales collectively. Even Whoopi smiles, relieved. Okay, she says, we have found the peace treaty. The audience laughs, and the tension finally loosens. But then Sarah, without realizing she's stirring the pot again, asks one more question. Harrison, have you ever regretted coming back to a role? Harrison hesitates, and that hesitation is louder than anything he could say. He finally answers. Yes. The audience reacts immediately, gasps, shock, whispers. Joy leans in. Which one? Harrison shakes his head with a small smile. I won't say. But I will say this. Sometimes you return for the right reasons, and the project still doesn't work. That happens. And you learn from it. Sunny comments gently. That's very honest. Joy studies him closely. Do you think that regret makes you more cautious now? Absolutely, he says. I listen to my gut more. Anna nods. I think that's true for all of us. Whoopi finally glances toward the cameras again. Well, folks, this has been something. The audience laughs, but the energy is emotional, not just amusing. Joy turns to Harrison one last time. I want to say this on air so it's clear. I respect your body of work. I respect your honesty. And yes, sometimes I push too hard. But I appreciate the way you handled it. Harrison nods. And I appreciate the conversation. The audience claps again. Whoopi jumps in. Before we wrap up, I want to ask Harrison one thing. What's next for you? Not career-wise. Personally. Harrison smiles lightly. Honestly, I want more quiet time. More flying. More trees. Less internet. The audience laughs with warmth. Joy jokes. Less internet is the healthiest thing anyone has said all day. The table relaxes into genuine laughter. The tension that defined the earlier segments has melted into something grounded and human. Whoopi begins closing out the show. Harrison, thank you for joining us. And thank you for surviving the Joy Behar experience. Joy throws her hands up dramatically. I'm a delight. Harrison chuckles. Most of the time. The audience roars with laughter and applause. They go to the final commercial break. But what happens after the camera's cut is where the real aftermath begins. When the show wraps, the audience starts buzzing instantly, people pulling out their phones, whispering to each other, replaying moments in their minds. Clips begin hitting social media within minutes. Edited snippets of Harrison pushing back, Joy challenging him, the vulnerable confession, the tense stares. Viewers online split into factions, some defending Joy for asking the real questions, others praising Harrison for putting her in her place, and others just shocked at how candid the conversation became. On Twitter, #HarrisonFordOnTheView trends within an hour. On TikTok, the moment Harrison said actors don't have the power you think they do becomes the first viral clip. Instagram fills with edits of Joy's reactions, memes of Whoopi's facial expressions, and fans analyzing every micro-expression at the table. Producers backstage exchange, "We definitely didn't plan for that," looks while co-hosts debrief the segment privately. The energy stays electric for the rest of the day. Harrison gives a polite goodbye to the entire panel before leaving, even shaking Joy's hand. Joy tells producers she didn't expect him to push back that hard, but she respects it. Sunny and Sarah whisper about how intense it felt in the moment. Anna sums it up best, "This is why people watch us." Whoopi walks off muttering, "I knew he wasn't gonna let Joy steamroll him." And viewers keep the debate alive long after the cameras stop rolling. If you watch the moment right now, you'd feel the tension, the honesty, and the raw, unscripted energy that daytime TV rarely captures anymore. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.